Let's talk about strategy for speaking test 2. Now, when you enter the second part of the speaking test, the examiner will hand you a cue card, which looks like this. On the cue card, you are given two important things. Let's look at this example. The first part of the cue card is the specific topic that you need to talk about, and this is a requirement, meaning you must talk about it. Now, the second part says you should say. Should means that you can do it or not. It's totally up to you. It doesn't say that you must say, so it's not a requirement. It's only a recommendation. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't talk about it. I'm just saying that these bullet points are optional. You can choose to talk about them, or you can only talk about one or two bullet points, or you can choose not to talk about any of them. In other words, it's not mandatory, and you don't get any score deduction or penalty if you don't talk about these bullet points, okay? Now, for the last part of the cue card, this doesn't belong to the recommendation part, and is the second requirement, meaning you must include this in your answer. So let me tell you about one of my strategies for the speaking part 2 that I find efficient. Initially, I answer the requirement parts first. Specifically, I firstly introduce the topic very quickly in one or two short sentences. Just answer straight to the point. For example, the personal item I'd like to replace is my laptop, or the person I admire the most is my English teacher, or I'd like to talk about the trip I made last year to the US. Keep it short and straightforward. Don't add any details just yet. Secondly, I answer the second requirement immediately, and I also keep it short. For instance, my laptop is totally broken and I need a new one for my study. Or the reason I admire my English teacher is that he can speak 5 languages. Or the reason this trip to the US is a valuable experience for me is because I learned a lot from it. Again, keep it short and straightforward, because the only aim here is just to finish the 2 requirements right away in a short time. This is because sometimes you are too focused on the recommendation part and you don't have time to talk about the last requirement, or that you're simply too nervous or stressed that you forget about the last requirement. This is where you lose marks. So, by using this strategy, the 2 requirements are answered immediately at the beginning of the test. This way, you don't have to worry about losing marks just because your 2 minutes are gone and you haven't covered the last requirement, right? Now, when the 2 requirements are out of the way, you can say anything that comes to mind or something that you have planned during the planning time. Of course, you have to say things that are related to the given topic. If you can't think of anything else, you can always use the recommendation part and just speak as long as you can until your time is up or when the examiner stops you. Don't worry if you get stopped by the examiner, he just reminds you of the time limit and it's not a negative point on your part. Now let's do an example. The personal item I'd really like to replace is my iPhone. It's super old and I'm still using it. But the main reason why I want to get a new one is that the screen is totally cracked, making it really hard to use. The way it happened is actually kind of funny. About 2 months ago, my wife and I took our daughter on a road trip. And after 3 hours of driving, I was exhausted and our daughter needed a bathroom break. So we stopped at a rest stop. The place had this big, beautiful meadow, and the weather was perfect, so we decided to hang out and take some pictures. Naturally, I was using my phone for that. Then my daughter picked up some rocks and challenged me to see who could throw them further. So of course I accepted the challenge, but here's where things went wrong. In my excitement, I accidentally threw my phone instead of the rock. It hit the ground and the screen shattered instantly. Now, every time I use my phone, it reminds me of that fun day, but the broken screen is getting annoying. It not only looks bad, but it also messes with touch sensitivity and over experience. Sometimes the phone doesn't respond properly, which is super frustrating, especially when I'm in a hurry. At first, I thought I could just replace the screen, but then I found out that the cost of doing that is almost as much as getting a new phone. So I figured I might as well wait for a new model with better features and a bigger screen. Besides, my phone is old, slowing down, and the battery doesn't last as long as it used to. So replacing this old cracked iPhone would definitely make my life a lot easier and more enjoyable. Let's do another example. So, one famous person I'd love to meet is Rowan Atkinson, the guy who played Mr. Bean. I'd love to meet him because I think he could teach me a lot about speaking and communication. Rowan Atkinson has this really unique voice and a proper British accent, which is such a big part of his comedy style. It's not just about the words he uses, but how he delivers them. It'll be amazing to learn from him, not just about pronunciation and accent, but also about how to communicate effectively and confidently. His creative use of language and expressive voice would be super valuable for learning how to speak persuasively. Most people know him as Mr. Bean, but he's done so much more than just that. Like before Mr. Bean, he was doing stand up comedy and playing all sorts of roles, both funny and serious. His range as a performer is pretty impressive, and he's definitely more than just that silent, goofy character we see on screen. I bet he has a lot of insights into how to use humor in everyday conversations, too. He has this way of making people laugh without even saying a word, just through his expressions and body language. That kind of skill is something I'd love to understand better. Plus, having him as a teacher would be like the perfect mix of education and humor, which sounds awesome. It'll be a unique experience that combines learning with a lot of laughs, and honestly, I think it'll be unforgettable.